Click subscribe to get daily Manchester United content from passionate Reds, only on All for United.
Hello and welcome back to All for United. What a depressing weekend for United fans. Again, that's the problem when you follow both men's and the women's teams and a bit of the academy as well. It can either the highs are really high and the lows, my God, don't they feel low at the moment. Joining me tonight, I have got two of we are the West Midlands Man United Supporters Club. I'm going to call it because we may as well be going and following the men's and the women's side. Firstly, how are you both doing?
Yeah,
all good.
All good.
Johnny, you started the show there. This is how I used to try and sell the women's game to fellow Man United fans. So I always used to say, think of all the excitement to get on match day. Well, you can get double that excitement by supporting the women's team as well. But like you just said, Connor, if things don't go your way, you get double the disappointment, don't you?
Yeah, it's not ideal, especially after the weekend. John, other John Commode, good to see you. Obviously, if you haven't just seen us four, we're just on the women's channel at 7:00 doing an in-depth review of the Derby loss as well.
John needs to live in the West Midlands. That's what he needs to do. He needs to be one of the West Midlands mafia.
What's he called us here? I'm going to glance over that one. Let's start off with the men's side then. I don't really know how. I'm not even going to throw questions out there. Let's just have a chat about it and see where the conversation goes. I'll just start it off by saying 0-0 home to Watford. It's more points dropped. Top four is just looking a little bit out of reach. We're still winning amongst it, but we can't keep dropping these. I think it was said on the show yesterday, this was the start of obviously back when Ralph came in, it was the start of that really good run. And we're now at the end of that, and we've dropped so many points. So I'll just let anyone fire off in terms of what happened. It's a relegation Watford. Why are we not winning these? Why are we not winning these games?
I was going to say, I'll start. We created enough chances to win that game. I just don't know how we weren't 2 or 3 up by half time. I mean, in terms of the performance, we stayed on the front foot throughout the 90 minutes. We kept on making chances. It was just a frustrating afternoon. I mean, the very first chance we had with Ronaldo, like us fans sitting in the south stand, as soon as he hit that ball towards, we was all standing up going, "It's a goal," and then it was like, how did that not go in? And realised it was the post he hit. But we just then we had the chance with that a good attacking move where Alanga, Ronaldo, and then Fernandez where he got through, and I was like. And then looking back on watching that match of the day, I was like, Fernandez, he could have hit it either into the left corner or as Ronaldo, he was on the right hand to the right of him. Bruno could have just passed it to the right, and Ronaldo would have had an easy tap in. You could see Ronaldo's, why didn't you pass it, or at least put it in the goal? But let's say, in terms of performance-wise, it's just I feel like it was good for the overall 90 minutes. So like previous games, we've been like good first half and then abject in the second half, so it was good to see. But I just think we're just getting very, I don't say, is it wasteful? Well, yeah, wasteful with our chances. We've got to start taking these chances. I read a stat earlier that saying in the last 6 games, United have created 19 big chances in the last six games, which is the second most in the league, behind Liverpool, who've created 29. We've only converted 5 of those 19 big chances. Liverpool have scored 17 of theirs. So it's like, I just feel like once it all clicks into place and we start scoring, then it's like we're going to be, hitting teams with like 3 or 4 goals. But I'm just thinking the run we've got at the moment, we're coming up. It's going to be, well, say Tottenham, City, and then Liverpool. It's just. Whether we can get all 9 points out of them, I don't know. It's going to be next month or so is going to be telling for United. At the moment, it's going to be. We're relying on other teams to drop points. I mean, Saturday we could have laid down the gauntlet to Arsenal in terms of the top 4, but we're relying on other people to, around us. And I know we've got to go away to Arsenal, and hopefully we get a result against them. But it's just out of our hands. Whereas when we have been chasing top 4 in like previous seasons, it's like we're the ones that have been in control of it. But now it's just like, are we now going to have to rely on winning the Champions League to get back into it?
I will just quickly say, John, before you. No, I was just going to quickly say, because you mentioned there about getting 9 points in that next 3 league game. If we do that, I'll buy an Ethan Mannion bucket hat and wear it on shows for the next month. There we go.
Clip that one.
Yeah.
I'll wear it for fun, so I'll just wear it anyway. So it's okay. With that.
I think you are right. Just quickly on this comment, we'll come back to this in about 15 minutes time, because that was something that I was going to bring up. But if you just bear with us about 10-15 minutes, I'll come back to this comment. I mean, yeah, I think you're right. You just didn't convert any of the chances. I mean, that stat's ridiculous in terms of the comparison with Liverpool there. I mean, John, what do you feel about this? Kind of like I said, it was a good run of games, and we've not really capitalised on it.
No, we haven't capitalised. I'll try not to get carried away though, because I think just the one thing about the men's team at the moment is they're just inconsistent. They might put a couple of games together, but it still doesn't mean that anything's going to happen in the future as well. And it's been like that for years now. I thought I saw something a bit interesting. The fact that that game we played midfielders and attackers together that we never really saw before, like Pogba on the left along with Elanga on the right with Ronaldo. That's probably something that we haven't seen all season. So I thought, okay, maybe we'll try something here. So we've got the creativity of Bruno behind him, experience of Pogba, the pace of Elanga. Obviously, Ronaldo speaks for himself. Then obviously Matic protecting the back line, and the tenacity of Fred. He was thinking, okay, well, maybe this combination could work. Let's try it, because we tried every other combination over and over again to the point where McFred was a big no-go, and now everyone wants to try McFred again. So I think we tried every combination going, apart from this combination that we pretty much saw against Watford. And the first half, it did make you think, okay, maybe we want to something here. And I appreciate it was against weaker opposition. I get all that. But it unfortunately doesn't mean anything until you put the ball in the back of the net. But I think it was nice to kind of see that we was creating chances, we was doing something. Ronaldo's not going to miss every chance, is he? If Cavani gets back on the pitch, you'd like to think that he's going to tuck some away. And there's comments about the under-23s, potentially one of those can put the ball in the back of the net. But I think the main thing for me is we need to keep on creating chances, and eventually we have to start scoring off them. I think it's easier to score a chance than it is to create them sometimes.
I was going to say, just on the defensive side as well, I think we certainly looked, like I said, the defence looked good with that. Like I say, Maguire was dropped on shore, but the defence looked good. And obviously Watford were hardly creating any chances, but Lindelof and Varane were like solid in the heart of defence. And then obviously Tellez and Wan-Bissaka were getting forward as well. I just wish sometimes with Wan-Bissaka, when he gets to the wing, can he just cross the ball a bit more and get the ball in? Because sometimes he just cuts back and looks for a pass. I'm like, when he used to play for Crystal Palace, because he used to be initially he was a winger, and he was like firing balls into the box, and like, what's stopping him doing that now? I just don't know. Whereas Tellez, you see him on the left, he gets the ball forward, and or when the ball's coming on the wing to him, he's like looking to put a cross in. So, but we were causing Watford problems with our speed and directness. It's just, I say defensively, Ralph's definitely improved that. It's the other end of the pitch. We're just starting to, not fire on all cylinders. And I mean, like Elanga, he was like very threatening going forward, and he played well. And he should have took that chance he had in the second half, and he was probably the most dangerous player. In terms of Ronaldo, I don't know whether, because like you read reports, he's saying he's asked for like a partner to be, up top with him. I just think maybe that's what he needs, somebody to like bounce off. And obviously he had the two chances, and obviously that one that was offside, which when looking back I was like, was that offside? But obviously they did the check on it. So, but yeah, it's the worry now is just the attacking end. But I just think at some point it's going to all click into place.
And Andy, you mentioned the defence there, and I just want to kind of ask you a little bit of a question on that, because obviously you go to the games and you probably hear things in the crowd as well as on Twitter. I always like to try and take the crowd's thought into consideration as well, not just Twitter. But what do you think about that, like starting lineup regarding the defence, like with Tellez in, Naldalo, the centre-back pairing? What was the vibe in the stadium like when that team sheet was kind of put out there? Because there is massive debates now about over Wan-Bissaka and Dalot and Tellez and Shaw, Maguire and Lindelof. It looks like the maybe the players with a higher ceiling are the ones just not on form at the moment?
I said Tellez wasn't. I don't know. Well, because Shaw's not like Shaw and Maguire. Their form has been up and down. So I think the Madrid game, they just Maguire just looked like uncomfortable, and so did Shaw. Whereas I think Tellez will say he was getting more forward, and obviously I think Lindelof deserved some game time as well. And I don't know whether Ralph would think in the future we're having a three, Maguire, Lindelof, and Varane. So I remember them playing together at Tottenham, and it really worked well. So I don't know whether they can be used as a three, but I don't think in terms of the atmosphere, and the reaction to Maguire, I don't think people were surprised Maguire was dropped off Shaw. So it's just like, I just think we're focusing more. We need to get a win today and put pressure on the top four rivalry. So it's just like, we just felt like it was a very, let's say, attack-minded team. Plus we had Fred and Matic. I think Matic controlled the midfield, and I just think we need to find that, as we keep saying, that central defensive midfield, somebody that's going to do it for 90 minutes every game. I'd say Matic, he can't really play 2 or 3 games in a week now. So it's just like, we just need, that is the big thing we need in summer now on that.
I think just on the fullbacks as well, it's going to link into this a little bit in terms of whether any of the under-23 lads can be promoted into the senior team. One player, he's not really technically an under-23 at the moment because obviously he's out on loan, is Ethan Laird. Now, obviously, he can play both fullback positions, but he's predominantly right back. And obviously at Swansea, he's been tearing up there. Just recently got into the Bournemouth squad. Obviously, he's moved over there. So if there's anyone I think that can push his way in, it's Laird, because we're struggling with fullbacks. Not options. We've got the options there, but nobody's really staking a proper claim. I've never been convinced on Delo. I don't think he's ever had a 9 or a 10 out of performance. I don't think Tellez has ever done that either. I think they've been good in terms of 6s and 7s, but I don't think they've ever reached. When you've looked at Luke Shaw, for example, you can go right. He's had a City away, for example. We beat him at their place during lockdown. You could argue that was a 9 or a 10 out of 10 performance, whereas I don't think you could ever really say that about Delo or Tellez. So I think if there's one player that could push in, it's definitely Laird.
Sorry, John.
No, go on, Andrew, go on.
I was going to say, Delo, when he plays, he likes to get further forward, and we sort of sacrifice some of the defence. Whereas, on the other hand, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, he's more defence-minded. He just needs to do the bit at the other end, when he's on the attack, helping on the getting down the wing, and then trying to, try and put crosses in, or say passing the ball into a more favourable position. So just sometimes I feel like with Delo, we just sacrifice some of our defending a little bit.
Yeah, just on those comments as well. Yeah, I think it's nice Rangnick has actually experimented with the fullbacks. I mean, I was one of Solskjaer's biggest fans, but you can pretty much guarantee that Shaw and Wan-Bissaka was going to play most games, and I appreciate Shaw was probably in better form back then, so it's hard for Tellez to come in. But it is nice to actually see what Tellez and Delo can actually do on a regular basis, and they're having a few more runs out now compared to previously. So I mean that is good, but I always think that if Shaw's on form, he's going to start playing again, and that's the way I kind of look at it. As for Ethan Laird, I think he's kind of missed his chance a little bit when Brandon Williams got in ahead of him a couple of years ago. I think Shaw was injured, and then Brandon came in for about 3 months, did quite well, and then had a bit of a dodgy bit of form, and we haven't seen much of him since. So I would love to see Ethan get in there. He was very unlucky not to have his chance above Brandon, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure Brandon only got in because Ethan might have been injured at the time, because I think at the time Brandon was playing on the opposite side. I think I might have on the right-hand side, and Ethan was on the left, or vice versa. So I just hope that Ethan hasn't missed his opportunity there. But I'd love to see Ethan come back into that starting 11 at some point.
I think, we'll come back to some of the other youth players a bit later on when we talk about the academy. Because obviously, the only teams that did win in the past week were the youth sides. Just back to the Watford game itself. Off the back of that, if you were Ralph coming out of this kind of run of games, we've won a couple, we've dropped points in a couple, obviously the Champions League draw as well. What would you be saying now to these players going into the tough run of fixtures that we've got? Would you be looking, I don't know, would you change anything? Because we're actually playing okay. but we're not scoring. That's the big problem. We're not killing off games. We're going 1-up. Obviously, we know what happened in the FA Cup and other games where we've gone 1-up and failed to win. I think obviously Burnley as well, throwing in there. What would you be saying now if you were Ralph? Would you change the way that we're kind of trying to play, or would you go for? I don't quite know. I don't even know the answer myself, to be honest. That's why I'm kind of throwing it to you two, because I don't actually know the answer. But it's a weird one, isn't it? Because when you're not playing well, you try and find solutions. But we're playing all right, but we're not killing off games.
It's that lack of. I think Saturday was just we was playing well throughout the 90 minutes, and we were making it's just the points. I was trying to get on the attack, and then was trying to get the crosses and the passes. It was just that lack of final quality in the end. And I think Ralph mentioned to me in his post-matching. He says us coaches with, teaching these players on, and training about the attacking, and it just seems to be like we're hitting a mental block in games. Like we're creating these chances, but not putting them away. It's just, I just feel like we need to say to I think the players, they need, I was sitting next to somebody, and all like second half when when passes weren't and crosses weren't getting through, and all I heard was like a fan just moaning there. I was like, football's not a perfect game. You can't always have the perfect pass, the perfect cross. I was like, no, I kind of said to him, well, you go on the pitch if you think. And then he sort of argued, saying, well, I don't get paid £500 a week. I said, I know that, but you keep moaning when things are not working right. And I'm just like, well, these players need your support. Okay, things are not. It's getting frustrating, but we need to keep cheering the players on. Because I remember when Ollie was in charge, the crowd getting up and so almost suck that ball into in towards the Stretford end. So I just think we can't keep being. Yes, it's frustrating with United, but at the moment we just can't be letting that breed more negativity. We've just got to get behind the players now, and this run of fixtures, they need us more than ever. So I just think just keep backing them, and we'll come good again. We're just in one of those moments where nothing seems to be working for us, but we'll get there, and hopefully by the end of the season we'll be like top 4, and maybe just the Champions League trophy in our hands.
It does make you think if it's more mental than it is anything else, like mentality and things like that. You might have that block. John Commode, I'd love it if he was my manager. I'd say to the players, you're playing well, but keep a cool head in front of goal. If it was that simple, I'd love it, John. But he is. I do think he is right in what he's saying, because if we can play like we played against Watford, against the tougher teams, and then chances will be there and we will start scoring. It's just whatever's going wrong at the moment against some of the bigger challenging sides, that just need to iron it out. No doubt they'll be working on things in training. They'll be watching all the videos against their opponents. Maybe they just need to get that bit more of togetherness there. Some sort of team bonding, building relationships. Managers coming in, players going out on loan, or we've had a high turnover of players compared to what we're used to at the club. Maybe it's just that instability more than anything. And we're going to touch on a show on Wednesday where I want to speak a little bit about like the instability side of things, and I want some of the players and the whole club to kind of calm down and settle down. And maybe that's it. Maybe they're just getting distractions in the head, and it's just not allowing them to focus, for the full 90 minutes on the game. And that shouldn't be the case, by the way. That shouldn't be the case. It doesn't matter what's going on behind the scenes. You're a professional footballer. You should be going out there and, getting the job done. But I do think at this such a high level against high quality opponents, you need to be on it game in, game out. And at the moment, we're not.
I was just going to say, sorry, Connor. I was just going to say, I just think sometimes the players have got too much time to think on the pitch, or they're trying to, the perfect pass, just like sometimes just don't think about it, just do it. Like there's a moment in the game against Watford, the ball was coming out of defence and it was given to Pogba, and Pogba was like, the game had just really slowed down, but for Pogba it was just like, I've got no one to pass to, or no one was making a move. It's like when United are on the front foot and being quick, the opposition teams don't know what to do, and they're like, start having nightmares. Oh God, they're just running in behind us. They're getting crossing the balls in and getting those passes into the forward players, and then they just can't cope. It's just like sometimes I just want us to be a bit more quicker in like our transitions as well, and we can just cause the opposition so many problems. So that's one thing we need to just improve on as well.
I think as well, you're talking about mentality there and whether it's affecting certain players. I think for some of our players, I think it probably is with what's happened off the field with our ex number 11. I think certain players, maybe Rashford being one of them, obviously was very close to him. I think that probably has a little bit of an effect to some of these players. There's been a lot of. I think that you are right. There's just been a lot of negativity around United this season. Obviously we sacked Ollie earlier on in the season. Now a lot of people didn't want him to go, but ultimately, as John, you always rightly say, if you sacking a manager, you're admitting you failed as a club, really, because you wouldn't be sacking him for any other reason unless there's been a big falling out. So, we've gone from sacking a manager, obviously the fallout of that, players coming in and out of form, obviously. And I think there's just been a lot of negativity around the club, and that must breathe through to the players. And maybe it is a mental block for them at the moment that they're seeing this run of games. I can't remember how many shots we've had recently, but it's the conversion rate to shots on target is poor, and obviously the conversion rate to goals is even worse. And I think when you've got players like Ronaldo in your team, one of the best players of all time, who's not firing, I think it kind of breeds into the rest of the squad then, thinking, well, if he can't score, what's going on?
But if I can just jump on that as well, out of the whole passages of play and everything that you work on for the game and in training, it all comes down to that final shot. And if you can get that final shot, then 99% of your job is done, and you just rely on that one last kick of the ball. So everything else is absolutely fine. You manage to get yourself into a position on the field where you've got a shot and you give it to one of your best players like Ronaldo. It's like everything's done. All you rely on is just one more shot. So as much as that's the most important shot, I get that getting that goal, it shows that everything else was actually okay because you managed to get yourself into a position where you can get that shot. And surely at one point, Ronaldo's going to start firing again. I think he has to. And not just Ronaldo, that goes on. Any player who plays in that Man United team should be able to get a shot on target and challenge the goalkeeper.
Yeah, definitely. That's the stat I was trying to remember. Yeah, 92 chances created against the 4 teams mentioned there. 19 of those is clear cut, and we've only scored 3 of them. I mean, that tells you where the problems lie, isn't it? The hardest part of football to me, actually, I disagree slightly. I can't remember who said it earlier about the hardest part is scoring. I actually think the hardest part is creating chances. And we're doing that. But this is where you go back to, we've got one of the best finishers of all time. So something is clearly not right. If you've got the best finisher of all time and you're creating all these chances, something's clearly not clicking somewhere. We're relying on Alanga coming through and providing goals. We've done this before. We did it with Rashford. We did it with Martial. We did it with Januzaj, all those years ago, relying on a young kid to come and save us. It's getting a bit repetitive now, relying on a young. I've seen people today saying, "Oh, Charlie McNeil needs to be promoted." No. Let's not destroy a kid and throw him into the limelight, because this is what we do as fans, don't we? We overhype.
Yeah. Andrew and I want to come in, but just I got to jump on this as well because I hate this so much. The fact that we have to rely on kids to go from an under-23s team that may not even be in the top league of the under-23s, or someone that's out on loan playing the championship. What makes you think that they're going to come straight in and take a team who's battling for 4th straight to the top? It's hard enough bringing in a world-class player like, we've brought in Pogba, we've brought in Ronaldo, we've brought in Sancho, brought in all these top players, and even they can't take us to titles. So, it's great that we got Alanga, and this time last year we was talking about somebody else, and the year before that we was talking about somebody else. It's great that we got these options, but we should have put so much pressure on these youngsters to come straight in and turn us into Premier League title-winning team. It's not right on them.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I was trying to mention Rangnick and the substitutions. You can't accuse Rangnick of lacking any ambition on Saturday, because by the end of the game we had it's like a 4-2-4 formation, and there was literally no protection for the back 4. If Watford had done a counter, they could have easily just got in behind and possibly scored. So, but it's just. Unfortunately, in Rangnick's recent substitutions have had a good effect. It's just for this game, it just didn't. I mean, there's one moment where Rashford. I think Sancho had paid the ball in. It was just coming across the box, and it was just like, and he was coming to Rashford, and I thought he just got to put his laces through this, and I just don't know why he didn't put his foot through it, and then he just put his hand up and just. I think just acknowledged Sancho, but I don't know whether he heard another, because I know Ronaldo's like I don't know who's right next to him or just near him. I don't know whether he heard a call or something, because he just didn't put his boot through the ball, and I'm just like it was the perfect moment for him, just to, get back on the score sheet and and just get that confidence back up as well. I just think I don't know whether like with Sancho maybe he should have started the game, because like I say, he's been in such good form recently, but I don't know, he was just because he played against Madrid, he wanted to give him a bit of a rest, and plus it was Watford. Well, we just thought with the players that we could bring in, we're more than capable of getting the results. But to say, Randy, we would say, can't accuse him of lacking ambition. We were trying to go for it. Just the subs, weren't able to, have that much, influence, as I say.
Yeah, I've left this comment on the screen because it is an interesting point in terms of earlier on in the season. Well, particularly in the midway through the season, we couldn't create anything. I was defending Ronaldo to the hilt, saying, what's he supposed to do with this service that he's getting? Now I can't really defend him, because it's like he could have had a hat-trick at the weekend. And you go back even further, look at some of the other games that he's, missing penalties and missing, clear one-on-ones that he's had. This is not the Ronaldo, obviously, that came to, and people could say he's not the same player as he was 5 years. Well, of course he's not, but Ronaldo was putting these away at the start of the season. So what has changed to now? Well, it's just interesting to me that all of a sudden we're creating loads of chances, which is something we weren't doing. But now we're not scoring at all. We were better off when we had 3 or 4 chances, scoring 2 or 3 of them, to what we're doing now. But I do agree with what's been said earlier on in terms of once it clicks, I think with this team, we need a game where we go 2 or 3-0 up, and then it will start to ease the pressure a bit then. Because at the moment we're trying to hang on to 1-goal leads, or we're going into games 0-0. It's getting late on, the nerves, around Old Trafford and things like that. It is going to take its toll. Can't stop it. Yeah, I fully agree with that one as well.
Do you think we need like a stable starting 11 again? Like back in like the old days, you could kind of like reel off the starting 11, and it's very rare that you see that strong starting 11 now. You could argue that no one's actually good enough to stay in the starting 11 at some points. That's why they get rotated. Or do we spend a lot of time now looking at opponents who are probably better than us in some cases? So we have to kind of play to our opponents. Back in the old days, we was always the best team, so we could always put our strongest 11 out, knowing that if we played at our best, we would always win. That's not necessarily the case anymore. If we put our strongest 11 out, we may not win. So do you think there needs to be more focus on maybe like playing to our own strengths as opposed to changing for the team, or do we just not know what our strongest 11 is?
I think I'll jump on this first. I think yes and no. I still don't think he knows his strongest 11, but he has been dealt with a couple of injuries and different things as well. But also, you've got a big problem. This is a whole show on itself, but you've got a big problem when you've got certain personalities like we've got. We're trying to shoehorn Pogba on the left. We're trying to fit Ronaldo in when Neil is bang on, by the way, tired physically and mentally. I think he is. So we're trying to shoehorn Ronaldo in. We've got Alanga coming through. We're putting all of our hopes on. Sancho's obviously coming into the side. We've let some players go. That midfield still doesn't seem balanced. So I don't think he knows his best 11. But at the same time, does anyone? I think if you ask a lot of United fans to pick an 11, you'd get 11 different. Get 11 different players. Yeah. So I don't. It's a difficult one because, like I said, we're not playing that bad, but we're just not converting chances. So yeah, Andrew, I don't know what you think on that one.
I was thinking, Rangnick's still trying to work it at the best formation, but then I think if by the time he does, it'll be the end of the season. Then it's the new manager's in, and he'll have a different idea of which players he wants, or this is the formation we're going to have to go with. I mean, like Sancho, for example, we bought him essentially to be on the right wing, but he's had more success on the left, and now we're like, well. What about the right wing now? It's sort of, I know Alanga played there Saturday, but I say I've seen Alanga play left and right, so I don't know which essentially is he better from the left or the right? So it's just like as you said, Pogba, it's like he seemed to be. I say he was all right against Watford. I say he had some, he was getting some good passes, but he just never really had that. I say that major influence on the game, and I just think it's almost like it was better when he, and when we took when we was like really going for it, in the 4-2-4, Pogba just went more centrally and sat deeper. So it was like, well, Pogba can be the one to start us going on the attack. But I just think it's that midfield in the summer that we've got to really fix, and obviously also in the forward line as well. It's just whether, if we reported Ronaldo, if we don't get Champions League, will Ronaldo want to stay? I don't know. Well, he's definitely going to leave, and I just think who's going to be out there that United can get, and because other clubs will know we'll be looking, and they'll want, the price is just going to go up a little bit more, and then we're going to have to say negotiate with them, and obviously, hopefully we don't get stung by clubs. We just get good deals out of them, but it's just a couple of areas we need to fix in the summer. But
there's always a couple of areas that need fixing. That's the problem. Like, then we think we fixed them, and then we need another fix somewhere else. That's the frustrating part.
What did I hear to Rio Ferdinand was saying? United should just write off the next 2 years. He just said it's almost like saying another rebuild, but it's just we just need to, I hate to say it, look to our rival Liverpool, how they did it like all years. They just had this plan of like the next 5 to 10 years. This is how we're going to build, and we want to be in so many years winning the league, the Champions League, and now the domestic cup competitions. It just seems like United just gone from. I mean, under Ali, it seemed like it was like getting together and the plans were starting to work, but then I just think back to the start of the season where it was like the Leeds game where we just all had that hope and like this could be a very good season. And obviously then when Ronaldo came back, it was like just don't know how. If they said back then, this is where United would be now, we'd have all gone, no, that can't be what happened to United. And like, I know it's just been up and down at the minute, and it's frustrating.
I think that's what I was saying earlier, though, isn't it? The whole club just seems to have a negative thing around it. I will just get to some of these comments. I'm going to bring up this one first, though. No, we don't. But John and Andrew probably sound a bit closer because they're closer to Birmingham than I am.
If we win the Champions League, I'll do a show in my Peaky Blinders outfit. Full on tweed, but I don't think we'll win it, so I can get away with saying that. But I got one in the wardrobe if you want to see it.
Oh, crikey. I don't want to see it. Yeah, so these two could get away with it. I've probably got maybe a little bit of the hair, but I don't have the accent, unfortunately, so I wouldn't fit in there. But I'm just going to bring up Neil's earlier comment about Alanga being under too much pressure. I'll move it away slightly in terms of talking a little bit about just 5 minutes or so, talking about obviously the academy results, some positivity before we move on to the final negative result of the weekend. But the under-23s last Friday beat Derby 5-2. The under-18s in the Youth Cup as well, 2-1 win over Leicester at Old Trafford, a late goal, Garnacho, to win it. So we're into the semi-finals of the FA Youth Cup. And I think just a question for the panel, obviously Neil's talking there about Alanga being put under too much pressure. It kind of ties into the academy section in terms of, do we put these players under too much pressure in terms of when they come into the side? Like I mentioned earlier, I've seen tweets of bringing Charlie McNeil into the side, and there was comments earlier about Shortira and these kinds of players. It's kind of a two-part question. Is there anyone that you think deserves that call-up now from the recent academy games? And obviously we play Dortmund tomorrow night as well as a chance for more exposure for these academy players. Do you think there's anyone that deserves another shout in terms of like Alanga has? He's kind of been pushed into the, I know he had a bit of a spell last season, kind of coming into the squad, but is there anyone else that you can see coming in there also? Are we just putting too much pressure on these lads to come in and almost save United? Because we've seen what happened in the past. Look at Januzaj, prime example of what can happen.
Can I jump in first on this one? So I think it's not about do they deserve the chance. I think it's about it shouldn't necessarily be the case that just because you're doing really well in the under-23s, the next step is to come straight into starting 11 in the senior team, or even like I'd rather see them playing in the occasional cup game or go out on loan first. I think it's such a massive jump from the under-23s to fighting in the Premiership week in, week out, trying to get us into that top 4 or title winning side. So for me, yeah, there are players out there that before the season started, it was going to be potentially Hannibal, because I don't think Matt has signed his new contract. Lingard looked like he was on his way out. So I thought, okay, so where is there a gap in the starting 11 where potentially someone could start? And at the time, it was Hannibal that was getting all the ratings. Now it looks like he might be a striker, because it looks like that we're lacking on strikers. But I think the biggest problem here is our senior team aren't performing. So we're looking at every possibility. So we look at players from abroad. We look at players in the Premiership, but then we also look at our homegrown players. And I know this is the United way, but the United way is also to get them in gradually, surrounded by top talent who can actually look after them. At the moment, I think we can bring anyone through, and because our senior team and the whole club itself, it probably isn't that well structured and that well secure, that I think it's probably the wrong thing to just rush them through. I'd rather them go to another club temporarily, find the feet, get some match time, and then maybe bring them back when we're a bit more stable. When we know that our manager's going to go at the end of the season and got a new director of football or whatever all the titles are called these days, to me there's just no structure there, and it's not great for the youngsters to come through at the moment. That doesn't mean I don't want them to come through. It just literally means it's not like the old days where we saw all these top class players come through. It was a different environment then, and we were winning back then. We had a different mentality back then. So for me, as much as yes, they probably deserve the chance, it's not necessarily the right thing to do.
Yeah, I just think sometimes we do build up our young players. Maybe it's just striking that balance. I'm just thinking, our number 11 that's not with us at the moment. I just think the way we built up him, it's just like, well, as I said, he'll go on to break records and all this, but now I don't know whether some players they get too much too soon. I think it's just managing that balance for like the young players. You don't want to, like with Alanga, don't want to. At the moment, he's playing with that freedom, and I just don't want to give him put that much pressure on him. Just like I want you to go out on that pitch and just like when you're on the ball, just just be free with it. Just you don't necessarily have to think. Just play your game, and I just think it's just just got to strike that balancing act. I think in terms of like youth players, one player I've seen a few clips of him. I'd like to see more of him. Is Alvaro Fernandez, the left back. I mean, I think I heard from the under 23 game. I think he was there with 2 assists, if I remember. He got as well. So, and from what I've seen of him, he looks pretty impressive. I've seen a few clips. He's played in matches at LSV as well. So, but I know Hannibal's been getting more training with the first team. So I'd like to see more of him as well. But I just don't know about Sholo Shoretire. I'm just thinking he seems to, I don't know. I know he's been having a good season in the under 23s, but I don't know whether it's worth calling him up into the first team just yet. This is I don't know yet.
Like it's such a big jump. So yeah, okay, he's doing really well in the under 23s. Great. Okay, the next step needs to be something else, and then straight in. I don't think we should look at it like, okay, he's doing really well on the under 23s. Let's put him straight in there and put all our hopes on him. I just think that it's that kind of mentality where we don't need to get out of it, but we automatically put pressure on these players by kind of hoping that because we see him on MUTV or wherever, and they have such a good game, it's just like we automatically think, oh right, okay, so he's having a great game, let's play him, and it's just like we put too much hopes on them. They'll probably have like a couple of bad seasons potentially in the Premiership. It still doesn't mean that they're no good. It just means that it takes a couple of years to adapt from maybe under 23s to the senior team. So even if they did come into the senior team and they don't play very well, the fans would write them off right away, and he just puts too much pressure on them, and that's what frustrates me a little bit, because the players are probably good enough, but there just needs to be something in the middle of the senior team and the under 23s. That's one way I look at it anyway.
I was going to just say like Charlie McNeil, everybody saying, wanting him to get into the first team because of the amount of goals he's scoring, but just like, yeah, he could be brought up into the first team. He could start scoring goals, and then the hype will just get bigger and bigger. I just think, and I remember a show that Connor did with Tony saying, well, he's probably at the moment he might just lack that physicality to be in the Premier League, so he's just building that up. I don't want to.
Yeah.
You don't want to throw our young players in, and you don't want them to see them crumble under the pressure. It would not be nice to see. Just like, and then where United are playing at the moment and the frustration, you don't want a young player just to feel like the fans getting negative, and then it just that particular young player just feels like, oh, I don't feel like I can do anything for this team, and it's just like you just want the players to just do well, not feel that negativity.
Yeah, it's given. I think you said earlier, Andrew, giving them too much too soon sometimes. And Abdul, who's obviously on this channel as well, put a tweet earlier saying we need to stop overhyping players. This doesn't just go for academy players; this goes for the rest of the players in the squad as well. I think as fans, we're always going to be biased anyway. As that's a footballing right that you're biased towards your own team. But I think when we see academy players coming through, and that's why I like doing shows with Tony, because every player in the academy is good. They're always going to be good. If they're in a top tier academy, they're going to be good players. But have they got what it takes, that next step to take? Because it's all very well and good playing in front of 2,000-3,000 people at Lee Sports Village. To 75,000 people in a crucial Premier League game that you need to win. For top four in the Premier League, is that it's different pressures, and I think that's where these games at Old Trafford, like the FA Youth Cup, have been played at Old Trafford. I can't remember what the attendance was the other day. I think it was close to 10,000 in the end. It'll be even more for the semi-final because I think it's actually on a weekend, so there should be even more for that. So it just helps these players play on the bigger stages. So we'll move on to the last negative of the weekend for the last 10 minutes or so. We have to talk about it. It is going along the bottom of along with Ticker there. Man United women's side crashed out of the FA Cup. At half time, it looked like we were going to go on and win the whole thing. And at full time, we were looking at a 4-1 defeat to Man City. So I'll just come to each of you. Just what happened? What happened in that second half? I'll let either of you go first on it.
Obviously, I'll go. So I just think City just done us with those 3 goals in like 9 minutes. It's just like, first half we was just on the front foot. We was pushing City back, and obviously was testing their goalkeeper with the corners, and then Maria had her chance as well. Could have put us up 1-0 early on in the game, and then Katie scored direct from the corner as well. And just like I say, was trying to push for that second goal before half time, and it was just like just never came. And then second half, I just can't. It's like the energy just went out of the players. Okay, City they made their 2 subs and they were going to attack more and more, but it's just like City just like broke the lines and getting the balls through the midfield to the attack. And I just think it was just individual mistakes cost us in the end as well. And I just think particularly that, I think the second one we conceded, just I don't know whether that was just a bit of the killer blow. It's just like, I know Hannah went to header it and Maria just stopped for a second and thought, oh, Mary's coming to get that, and the ball didn't have no pace on it. And so then Mary tried to come out, and then I could see Diane just literally running back and then hoping to, hopefully if it went through, she could clear it off the line. But then the third goal, Mary couldn't, she got her hands on it, but it just crept underneath her, and it was like, it just like, and then Bunny Shaw scoring the fourth. It's just, I think it was like she'd only been on the pitch like 40 seconds, and it was like, I'm sure it was like her very first touch was the putting it in the back of the net. I was like, just now we just lacked. I think Skinner said it wasn't us that second half, and I just think the intensity we weren't going in for the tackles in the second half, and it just seems like the levels just dropped, and I just don't know why. It just only the players they'll reflect on that why that second half, and hopefully they can just bounce back on there Saturday for the victory against Leicester.
Yeah, I agree with what Andrew said. Obviously, we spoke about it already. But yeah, we were the best team in the first half. We done better than I thought we was going to. I think the way we started that first half is the way that I thought we was going to start the previous game a couple of weeks ago against them. You know, we were the better team. We looked confident. We looked up for it. We were the best team. We ended up winning 1-0 in the first half. Going to half time, City was always going to make changes and come out guns blazing because they had to. They needed to do something, or else they would have been out the cup. So they make their 2 subs, score 3 goals in 10 minutes. 2 of them massive mistakes by ourselves, individual errors. So before you know it, you go from 1-0 up to 3-1. We make some subs. We were a little bit rattled because all of a sudden, you know, our players were unconfident. And yeah, you're 3-1 down. You try and force the issue to try and get a goal, and then again, you know, you can see another one against a top team, and you end up losing 4-1. Massively disappointed because I was a little bit worried about this game. Like I say, 2 weeks ago, I thought we were the favourites to win. Last time we played them, this time I was a little bit more dubious about it. But I wasn't expecting 4-1. But again, was it a 4-1 game? Some people might say yes. If we didn't make those 2 mistakes. And it's easy to say that, but they're not just a mistake as in like a tactical mistake. This is like, you know, like kind of like a freakish thing that wouldn't happen usually. It's like almost like a fluke. Then who knows what would have happened. But yeah, it's a massive shame. But again, was we ever expected to win any of the cups this season? We'd like to have done. We'd have liked to have challenged. But we haven't got to Wembley or any finals, but we are still in the race for the top 3. And I think now that obviously that needs to be the focus now.
Yeah, definitely. I think as well, just touching on it before we look to wrap up in terms of the results there. I'm intrigued, obviously, because we were all stood next to each other at the ground, and I think we all thought the same. But did it feel like an echo in here? I don't know. Am I echoing to anyone else? No, just me then. Just my headphones. Did it feel like an FA Cup derby day to anyone else? Because I think, you know, I know we've spoken about it privately, but just, you know, people that may not have watched, obviously, this is the 4th, if you don't follow United Women, this is the 4th derby this season. So we've had them in every single cup and played them in the league twice. We only played them 2 weeks ago. The men's side plays City this weekend, obviously on Sunday. I don't know. To me, it just seemed very flat and very... I don't know. It didn't feel like a Manchester derby. I don't know what the viewing figures were on BBC in the end, but... I don't know. I just wanted to have a quick 2-minute discussion on this in terms of like what the atmosphere was like, because it just felt very weird to me. It was obviously going to be. We're always loud. Every game we go to, but it just felt very flat and strange. Obviously, 3 goals in 9 minutes don't help that. But yeah, I just wanted to get your guys' thoughts on that.
I think more fans could have turned up for a start from the Man City and Man United. I think the attendance was just over 2,000, 2,100, something like that. You know, that's below our average for league games. So to say that it's a Manchester derby in a cup on a Sunday midday, you know, you'd expect a few more to turn up there. So I think that didn't help things. So I think that also kind of proves that people are slightly getting bored of this fixture now. And there's like so many times, I think I made the joke to you, didn't I? Kind of on the way home, Andrew, you would have been in the car as well then. Where, you know, if it's Christmas every day, eventually you're going to get bored of it. And, you know, it's too much of a good thing. You know, it's a massive shame. You know, we're fans. We love to build up derby days, you know, just on all for United, let alone just as a fan and, you know, anything else. You know, we love to build it up, but it's very hard to get up for it when you've just played Arsenal, Chelsea, City again. And there's only so many big games, and I just don't think that 4 derbies in one season, over and over again, it's almost like we're bored of it. It's not a one-off. That's the thing. Next season will probably be the same because the other 3 seasons have been the same. 2 seasons in the WSL. If this was a one-off, we'd be like, wow, we're playing City again. But it's not a one-off. Every season we're in the Conti Cup or we get drawn against them in the FA Cup, plus your two league matches. Bearing in mind that there's not 20 teams like in the Premiership. There's only 12 WSL teams. So, you know, the fixtures come around quicker than normal. You know, it's a shame because there's so many more teams out there that we could be playing and having a bit more excitement. So, like I said, I'm not against the derbies, but 4 in a season and 2 in the space of 3 weeks, it ain't great.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, it's like the lack of build-up as well. I mean, because we just had the international break, didn't we? And the BBC decided to broadcast it. I don't know whether if we hadn't been playing City, if we'd have been drawn against another team, would BBC have picked up that game? Is it because it was the Manchester derby? They picked it up. They wanted to show it. I mean, and like attendance wise, like the league game against LSV, there's like just under 4,000. The one at the Academy Stadium, well, it was the 5,000 of us. Well, the Academy Stadium. It's just, as you said, is it too much of a having like 4 games in one season against them, because obviously he was in the Conti Cup group with them as well. So it was like, I don't know, it's like Conor said, it just went a bit flat. Obviously, was trying to keep the energy up in the second half, even despite us going 3-1 down. But it's like Conor said, weird. It wasn't quite a Manchester derby, but I don't know. It's just, I say I'd liked us to, got through, and we could have had a good run or possibly reach Wembley. Would have been a brilliant day out for us United fans if we'd have reached Wembley. But it's just disappointing we didn't, just get that, win over City. I think it would have just made a statement towards City and like the other teams in the top 3 of the WSL as well, saying, well, we're here now, so we're gonna. But we just we're having to go back to the drawing board again and going, well, there's a few things we just need to adjust or make better. As Skinner said, like in terms of like the physicality side as well, it was like second half we was losing a lot of the duels, and it was like first half we wasn't. So it's getting that, starting to get that consistency against the likes of City, Arsenal, and Chelsea as well. So, but yeah. So at least we don't have to play City now until next season.
Just Chelsea instead.
Can you imagine if we got to the Conti Cup final, we'd be playing City again? That'll be 5 times. If we'd have got to the final, we'd have been playing City again. So, yeah, I'm glad that fixture's out of the way now. We don't have to play them again until probably the start of next season when we get them in the Conti again, and we'll be playing them again. So, yeah, that's going to be great. Before I look to wrap up, I just want... Let's do a quick fire prediction round then for the rest of the week. So the under-19s tomorrow against Dortmund. That's a one-legged tie as well, so there's no second legs at this stage. So Leicester at home for the women on Saturday, and obviously the big one, the Manchester derby for the men away at the Etihad on Sunday. So I'll let you go first, Andrew, because you're looking like you're going to give me 3 wins here.
Oh.
The women's side, well, United women, I think we can score like pretty much early on. I think about 4-0. I think we can just, sweep Leicester aside. It's the United men. I'm just it's which side, which team Ragnick plays, and if we turn up, just knowing the way City play, we're going to have to do a lot of defending. I just think if we can catch City on the, counter, I'm going to go a 1-0 win. If we're going to win, we're going to just win by 1 goal. We're just going to have to, our defence is going to, which it has been recently, been pretty good. It's just our attacking has just been where it's lacking. But if we can just get that one chance, score, and then hopefully we can score it like a late winner, and then we're not having to hang on. If we score early, we're having to hang on, which we don't want to be let City attack us over and over again. In terms of the under-19s, I just think I'll go with a 2-0 win. I think we'll get through, hopefully.
All right then, I'm going to go for a few goals tomorrow. Then, so I'm going to go for a 3-2 win. Against Dortmund. I think that'll be good for you, Conor, because I know that you're going to watch that one, so get to watch a few goals. Women's team, I don't want to be boring, but I think Andrew's got it right there. I think 4-0, something like that, 3-0, 4-0. So, yeah, one of those. Men's team, I'm going to be even more boring, but I'm not going to agree with Andrew on this one. I'm going to say 0-0. I think it will just be like hanging on a fair bit. I think we'll create the odd chance here and there, but not anything clear cut. Yeah, I'm going to go for a 0-0.
Interesting. I think, tomorrow, I think Dortmund have got a very good side, so I think it's going to be very, very tough tomorrow, especially because of the game last week probably took a lot out of these youngsters. So I still back the academy to win. I'm going to go no, I'm not. I'm going to go 3-1 tomorrow. I think Saturday, I think United Women, it's a perfect game for us, really, in terms of bouncing back. I know Leicester have been on some good form, but they haven't played anyone of note. There's no result that really stands out and shocks me in there. I'm going to say 4-0 as well, actually. I think we'll get that clean sheet back and get the winning run back. And as for the game on Sunday, do you know what? I can see it going so many. It's either going to be a 0-0 ball fest in terms of we'll just be sitting defending and it will just be playing around the midfield, or I hate saying this on the United channel, but I can't see us winning. I can't see us finding a way of potentially winning. So I'm going to agree with you.
You're like the Anthony Wilson of the men's game. You are, Connor.
just without the loud voice. I think. Hang on, what's John saying here? I mean, if that's right, then crikey. Do you know what? I'll go with that then. I'll go United win 2-1, but it's going to be very, very tough. City have been grinding out results recently, so we're going to have to be on our A game to win that one. We'll wrap it up there. I don't believe there's what day are we even on? Monday. There's no show tomorrow. There is a new show on Wednesday. I don't know where, John, do you want to shout that one out?
Yeah, I'm going to shout that one out. Yeah, come and join us on Wednesday, 8 o'clock. Brand new show. Having a slight change around throughout the week. So, new show is on Wednesday. I'll be hosting that one with somebody else, with a few guests here and there. I'm not going to say too much about it just yet, but tune in and you'll soon understand what's going on. So, tell all your friends and family. Tell all your Man United supporters to come and join in. And if you want to be on the show, just send us a message on Twitter.
Yeah, nice one. Thursday, obviously, Tactical Preview will be back for the City game. If you're interested, obviously, in the women's football content as well, make sure you go over there. Yeah, we've got content all week. We've got players from up and down the pyramid on this week, and the usual Man United content, obviously, leading up to the last game at the weekend as well. Thanks for these two for coming on. Make sure you're checking these two out on Twitter. I'm sure you already are if you're watching the video anyway. But we'll see you later in the week.